So the next one is in the news. We're going to go over some foreign policy. We're going to try to get some guests on later in the week to go into these deeply. But, you know, when everybody was talking about Ruth Bader Ginsburg passed away, I was really crying about Stephen Cohen, because Stephen Cohen really, this guy has been around for a long time. He's been advocating peace. He's been doing some serious work. He's a diplomat for Russia. I remember him first talking about what came out of Reagan and Gorbachev. They went in the room. Nobody could hear him. Nobody could hear him speak. They came out, and a week later, or like a month later, they had talked about signing treaties to denuclearize their weapons. So here's Stephen Cohen. I just a little clip on him right now. This is when he went after Max Boot. I remember the day this happened. This is awesome. Just a little clip in here of him tearing apart Max Boot. It's right underneath 451 to 555. I even highlighted it for you, sir.
Yeah. It's there.
It's right there. Looking right under it.
And Trump.
I have no idea what Mr. Boot is talking about. He wants Trump to threaten Russia. Why would we threaten Russia? You've got two nuclear
because they're attacking us. Russia is attacking us, Professor Cohen. Russia is attacking us right now, according to Trump's own director of national intelligence.
Russia. I've been studying Russia for 45 years. I've lived in Russia and I've lived here.
And you've been consistently an apologist for Russia in those 45 years.
Russia hasn't. Excuse me, what did you say to me?
I said you've been consistently an apologist for Russia in those last 45 years.
All right, I don't do defamation of people. I do serious analysis of serious national security problems. When people like you call people like me, and not only me, but people more eminent than me, apologists for Russia, because we don't agree with your analysis, you are criminalizing diplomacy and détente, and you are the threat to American national security in the story. Why do you have to defame somebody you don't agree with it? They used to do that in the old Soviet Union. We don't do that here. Well, we used to, but we need to stop it.
So you just finally...
That was like the little clip I wanted to play, because they were talking about this meeting that Donald Trump went in the room with Putin and whatnot. And Max Boot, who, you know, there's an award that Max Boot has heard of that he hasn't loved. This is the guy writing for the Washington Post. This is the neocons on the left, they're called, whatever you want to say. And that was just a little something from Max Boot going after him. Remember, Max Boot is the one, not Max Boot, Stephen Cohen's the one who said, we've Putinized Russia and we've demonized Putin. Remember, he said that not too long ago. He just passed away. He had cancer. He was like 81 years old. So I just want to put up something remembering him. Caitlin Johnstone wrote an awesome article. Stephen Cohen has died. Remember his urgent warnings against the new Cold War. There's a great video from Democracy Now! In that. She talks about how she learned a lot when it came to rationalizing peace with Russia and all the things in play. And this is a person we really need to listen to when it comes to Russia, families. If you want to say anything.
No, I mean, I agree. I mean, I think especially, you know, losing voices that are fighting against it's the right wing narrative that the Democrats and the Republicans both employ. It's the pro neocon narrative of new Cold War that they're employing, and losing those voices is really sad, because those voices are the ones we definitely need to tell people like this guy over here that this is a lie. This is propaganda, that you spewing these conspiracy theories that Russia is attacking us are the actual threat, because you're trying to foment war.
Absolutely.
And nuclear war would be disastrous to not just Russia, to everybody.
But fam, he listened to Trump's own defense intelligence, you know?
Yeah, right. They were saying all that
they've never done anything wrong, the intelligence community.
No,
they've never done anything wrong.
You should listen to them. Well, when it's to their benefit, for the establishment and corporate interest benefit, they'll go and spew it along, because they profit off war. All of Max Boot's bosses profit off war. The Washington Post has a contract with the CIA. So, I mean, they're pro-war, anti-Bernie, anti-progressive.
The Washington Post isn't. They're not journalists. They're propagandists. The most of them.
So is MSNBC and so is CNN. Propagandists all across the board when it comes to that bullshit stuff. You know what Fox News has been for a long time. So, I mean, geez. So Consortium News. This Joe Loria. Love him, fam. Go ahead.
So heads of state, including prime ministers, parliamentarians, members of Congress, other ministers and politicians, demand Assange to be free. Among these are some presidents, ex-presidents. And I'm just going to name some of them. There you have Lula, Rousseff, Morales, Evo Morales, Zapatero, Jeremy Corbyn, Correa, Paul, George Galloway, Mike Rebel, And there's so many more. If you guys want to check out, this is a great article.
Not
Just
enough
go down
Americans
through
on
the
that list.
not enough Americans
Not
on that
enough
list.
American lists on that list
At all. But you can go down the list. There's even somebody. Let's see. There's Jeremy Corbyn. Ron Paul is on there. There's a Ron Paul. There's very, very few people.
Not
but
enough.
it's so many.
Mike Gravel. You could add Tulsi to that list too. She's,
There's just so many. But please, it's a good article. Read it. Yeah, there's Colombian presidents. There's a former candidate who ran for Peru, who also spoke out up there. There's over 100 people.
Carrera, who was keeping him safe for many years. Yeah. Dude, it's awesome. It's a great list. I mean, I'm very happy for it. The Rafael Carrera. He's the president of Ecuador, number 13, Johnny. That guy right there. Remember him? Former minister of the economy. It was great when he was there because, therefore, Julian was protected.
Yeah.
As soon as he got out,
Maduro.
The president who came in after him was such a acted all progressive to get the spot, and as soon as he got it, the
He was
180
a U.S.
degrees,
U.S.
little puppet.
Yeah.
So that was that.
Puppet.
Do
So
we have any
yeah.
other super chats I missed real quick? I think
And
we're good.
we'll have more updates on Assange and stuff throughout the
Go
week because I know that the
Jeremy
trial today came back, and our friends check out Slow News Day for any updates and all the
Action
journalists
for
covering
Assange,
it.
right
Action
over
for
there.
Assange, Taylor,
All right.
all these people.
So a lot of stuff we wanted to talk about the other day. We were looking into this the other day. U.S. and Russia relationship, since we're talking about Stephen Cohen and whatnot. U.S. is not recognizing elections in Crimea, and I've been talking about this area. It's a very hot spot, as you can see. Now, when it comes to what's the word I'm looking? Delegitimizing a president or whatnot, they always attack the elections. The Maduro elections weren't good; they were terrible. And Lukashenko, and they were no good. In this particular situation right now, the United States is condemning the elections because they said the Crimea back to Russia breakaway, whatever you want to call it, was illegitimate. It was no good. So right now they've called out the elections, saying the elections are no good on September 13th. The U.S. Embassy in Ukraine reported this on Facebook page. We condemn and do not recognize the so-called elections held in Crimea and Sevastopol on September 13th. Once again, Russia violated Ukraine's sovereignty on territory Russia seized by force and attempted to annex, the statement reads. So you could just see right there, we condemn and do not recognize the so-called elections held in Crimea. And I just read that. Once again, Russia violated Ukraine's sovereignty. This all goes back to that situation, fam, when the Ukraine regime change took place. Crimea voted to annex themselves and go back to Russia. Mm-hmm. They, just like a lot of Eastern Ukraine, have a lot of Russian, a lot of heritage, and that's where the Donbass region right now, there's a lot of shit going on over there where people are loyal to Russia and they want to go back to Russia. Did Putin want Crimea because of its military base and its navy? Absolutely. However, they voted. They had the right to get it back. Now, tensions are heating up, I put, in that area. Johnny, I forgot to tell you about to put a map up there, but no big deal. Russian military says, get out of here, U.S. and NATO flights near Crimea fuel tensions. Now, you can watch this video over here. We put this on. There's no volume and stuff like that, but that's a Russian fighter. This happened about 3 weeks ago. Now, it's a B-52, and we've been seeing this getting really, really close here, ladies and gentlemen. Look at these machines. That's a Russian right there. That's the American, the B-52. So the Russian jets are like, what are you doing here? You want to start playing games?
Oh, jeez.
Watch how it goes across the bow.
Mother Russia.
Here it goes. Now, there's no sound in the B-52. I wish there was. But once again, he's flying across his bow, and you can see him start to look and start to shake because they're going to feel the jet wash go right across the bow. They're like letting them know, this is not your territory. This is our land now. Get the hell out of here. Very, very dangerous
this is
times.
Inside the American B-52.
Yep. And you can see it just cutting across, dude. It's getting crazy. A lot of these situations have been happening.
Holy shit. So it was just cutting back and forth across.
Yep. That is no, guys.
I mean, wouldn't you? I mean, it's just, what are we doing over there?
That is no joke.
This is the same thing we try to do in Hong Kong, and then we're going to talk about Taiwan. But this is what America tries to do. We go in there. We say that we have to be in there. We saw that RT crosstalk with that woman who was pretty much a PR woman for the freaking military industrial complex. Further. Yeah. I mean, she was just
spread democracy and whatnot.
She did hit every nail.
If you haven't seen that, it's the one with Lionel. I forgot her name. She's from Rebel Communications. She's been on. Oh, she goes on to her talking MSNBC, CNN, ABC. She's a shill for the Democratic neocon wing. That they let her go on all the major news networks and spread her propaganda. Well, this time she went on with Lionel, and it's so funny to see two conservatives going, "How could you say this shit?" Like, she had every single.
I was agreeing with the Republicans.
I know.
That's. I mean, they are the type of Republicans that are less interventionist than this Democratic neocon.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, this is why when it comes to war, the establishment Democrat and the establishment Republicans are all falling right in line. They shake hands and hold hands for war.
So Johnny's going to get the map up because I want to talk about this right here. So Crimea, okay? You got the right spot? It should be between Ukraine and Russia. That's it right there. That's that little land. Yeah, right in there. And see, America's been aiding the Ukrainian army and whatnot since when? And that's that area right over. You can see Russia's right to the right of Ukraine. Right, you know what I'm saying? This is dangerous. Now, the thing that really got me nervous, fam, we saw it on RT. I went to the thing. I said, "Holy shit, this is something very, very serious right now," because everything's going on, here in America with RBG, the elections. What's going to happen? We have the protests in the streets, the argument from what that is, all these distractions and stuff going on foreign policy-wise that we're not keeping our eye on that are very dangerous. This one is really bad. Russia demands answers from Washington on whether the U.S. is facilitating terrorist attacks in Crimea, after NBC reports. So you can see right here, I'm going to read the first couple paragraphs. So this is something very, very dangerous, ladies and gentlemen, because this isn't a proxy now. Remember, Crimea is back to being part of Russia. In fact, as soon as they annexed it back, they started completing this project with a bridge that's going from the mainland into Crimea. It's a big bridge, almost like the bridge in Key West, if you guys can imagine it. It's a long, long bridge. So right here, Russia's embassy in the U.S. has demanded clarification after an unnamed American official was cited in reporting stating that the U.S. forces are providing weapons to militant units in Crimea as they launched attacks on Russian troops. The embassy said it treated the statement with grave concern in a social media post Thursday, asking Washington to provide further details as to whether the American weapons were being passed to Ukrainian fighters carrying out clandestine operations in Crimea. Unnamed U.S. officials speak about their country's support of terrorist activities in third countries. In this case, they talk specifically about Russia. The embassy said on the embassy said on Facebook, "If it's true, we then demand the U.S. side to clarify whether or not Washington directly or indirectly has facilitated the SBU, which is the Ukrainian Security Services, in organizing terrorist attacks against the people of Crimea." Fam, this is dangerous. It's different if it's a proxy country, right? Okay, so we had a little kind of unclear. Even though Hong Kong was part of China, it had its own separate government that had been involved with the West for a long time. You talk about messing around in Syria, a Russian ally or an Iranian ally. Okay, that's Syria. It's another country. You're talking about messing around in Crimea, which is part of Russia right now.
Yeah.
Fam, this can spin to all kinds of out of control bullshit right now that we don't want to deal with right now. And you can see the Russian fighters are not going to back down.
And just how can Putin's president, be so supportive of this, right? I mean, the idea that Donald Trump loves Putin and all this stuff. I mean, this is really dangerous things to be fomenting. And Glenn Greenwald mentions it later, and we'll put up the tweet. But it's really like either Donald Trump is cooperating with Putin or he isn't. And whether it's him or the military, whatever, he's the commander in chief.
Yeah, this is dangerous stuff. And to see Joe Biden, if he's anything like Obama or Clinton, that clan, they were very negative against Putin, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Very, very negative against Putin. Whereas this is the things that I hated when we talk about that Richard Cohen stuff and the stuff to leading up right now, the way the Democratic establishment has handicapped Donald Trump from doing any type of peace deals or humanitarian work with the Russians, because anytime he does, fam, it's like, look, it's Putin's puppet. It's Putin's puppet. That's the danger of Russia
Right.
People have been saying it for a long time. And right here, you even put U.S. is sending more troops to Syria to counter the Russians.
So, yeah. And this is, again, Syria, who we've been sanctioning, by the way. So the development of armored vehicles, advanced radar, and more fighter jets comes in response to a Russian convoy ramming on U.S. ground patrol, injuring 7 soldiers. So this is what's been going on with that. And then I did want to point to Glenn Greenwald's tweet when he said, weird thing for a Putin-controlled country to do. So if we are a Putin-controlled country because it's Donald Trump, then how are we, rushing troops to these with these vehicles and arming these people? How is this possible? How is that happening if we are such best friends with Putin? I mean, it doesn't add up. Why? Because it doesn't matter what Donald Trump says vocally, just as it doesn't matter what Joe Biden and them say vocally. At the end of the day, we want more power. We want to expand and get those goods in Russia. We want to get these control, because if we get control over Crimea, which is a part of Russia, forget it. Like, we can, it's again, this is why we wanted Hong Kong. This is why we wanted Taiwan. This is why we want the things we want.
Yeah,
because
we want
our allies.
Yeah.
We want to expand our empire. This is what it's about. Nothing more, nothing less.
I don't think people realize, and we've been talking about this for a long time, the dangers of Russiagate. The dangers of Russiagate. People always say, Pasta, oh, you have your number one issue, this and that. But what do I say? One of the things I liked about Tulsi Gabbard more than anything, she says, day one, let's sit down with Russia. Let's sit down with China. Let's talk about getting rid of these nuclear weapons. Let's pull India and Pakistan into the deal. This is such an important issue, ladies and gentlemen. And the fact that people don't even pay attention to it, that progressives don't realize how dangerous a nuclear holocaust could be.
You're not going to get Medicare for all if there's a nuclear holocaust.
You ain't getting it. And the fact that they allowed to, and they got behind this rhetoric of the left, of the establishment left, all of them. You know what I'm saying? The Putin thing, the Moscow Mitch. I saw that, what's his name said Moscow Mitch the other day, and I couldn't believe it. Ralph Nader. I mean, come on, ladies and gentlemen. What the hell's wrong with you people? Don't you realize how dangerous this is? Balak Krishnas Sastry says, thoughts on the potential deal that Assange revealed a source and gets a pardon. If the source is Seth Rich, it's worth Assange. Is it worth Assange to reveal?
No.
Hashtag free Assange. We've been talking about this. As much as I'd like that to happen, I got to agree with my fams here that he's not about releasing his sources. That's how he does business. Maybe they threatened. They said, if you release the source, we'll go after Seth Rich's family.
I think it's a trick. I think he'd be stupid to take any deal from the intelligence state that is trying to prosecute him. Like, why would you take any deal from them? Anytime you deal with the police or the intelligence and they tell you to take a deal, you would be admitting to something you didn't do, faulting yourself for something. And it's a trick.
Yeah.
Like, he shouldn't do it.
By the way, did you see that little post that Fam had up, the ISIS and the Syria?
Yeah, I just wanted this meme.
It's so funny. It's
this is
so
what we
hysterical.
did. We went in there. We put ISIS in there. Then we got rid of Syria, and then we left. And then
Johnny,
we
you got
ISIS.
that one you can show? It's in the folder, the little pink one, with the Syria and the that one.
There it is. I mean, it doesn't get simpler than that. This is what we did.
So true.
We literally, this is what we do.
But he should be walking out with like
Time and
resources,
time again.
bag of resources,
Yeah,
and
something
money
like
bags and everything like that.
Yeah.
Basically.
Well, oil. We should
Just
be
oil.
walking on a barrel of oil.
Basically.
That's great.
Anything else on? Did you want to show something, or you?
Thank you for the super chat, by the way,
This
guys.
is before the next subject.
Yeah, we got the next one is U.S.
Okay,
UN
I got you.
unrest in Belarus.
So yeah, the last thing is that in kind of close to what you were talking about, Paz, is that I want people to know about this. This video is by Kyrgyzstan, which is they make really great videos, and they talk about the great filter, how our civilization, and how about how there could be alien life, but perhaps there's something that has happened to every civilization that has prevented them from becoming galactic beings, right, or community
In this dimension.
and it's called the great filter. So the great filter, and they allude to nukes being the great filter, basically, that we destroy ourselves, right?
This is great. It's only got 17 minutes views right now.
A challenge or danger so hard to overcome that it eliminates almost every species that encounters it. There are two scenarios. One means we are incredibly special and lucky. The other one means we are doomed and practically already dead. It depends on where the filter is on our staircase. Behind or ahead of us. Scenario 1. The filter is behind us. We are the first. If the filter is behind us, that means that one of the steps we passed is almost impossible to take. Which step could it be? Is life itself extremely rare? It's very hard to make predictions about how likely it is for life to emerge from dead things. There is no consensus. Some scientists think it develops everywhere where the conditions are right. The filter is ahead of us. Plenty of others died already. A great filter before us is orders of magnitude more dangerous than anything we encountered so far. Even if a major disaster killed most of us or threw us back thousands of years, we would survive and recover. And if we can recover, even if it takes 1,000,000 years, then it's not a great filter, but just a roadblock to an eventual galactic civilization. On universal timescales, even millions of years are just...
It's in there. It's in there somewhere about nukes being one of the filter.
I like the artwork in this too as well. It's kind of cool. It's very entertaining, and I love videos like this because you can learn so much off a what is it, a 9-minute video?
Yeah, exactly.
Johnny, can you put that in the chat to make sure people can go watch that stuff? Because I know people are going to be saying they want to see that.
Basically, every civilization has in this universe has pretty much succumbed to several things. It could be climate catastrophe. It could be also
exactly. It could be climate catastrophe,
it could be nukes.
And then Fred Hampton's Ghost in the chat says we're in a filter process right now. With communism, we can become full humans. Exactly.
It's
right.
basically
it's the truth, because communism in theory is great, you know.
Community.
But because it hasn't been applied in real life. The type of communism that people have seen applied is not the communism that is the ideal.
Well, if an alien comes and gives me Superman powers, I'll make sure that communism is enacted throughout the whole country. And I'll make sure we do it. All right, unrest in Belarus, right? Because we've been talking about this too as well. Because Belarus, just to give you a little bit of update, last week we had Lukashenko and Putin. They came in and met. Remember, we talked to Ben Norton. Ben Norton says Lukashenko will meet with Putin eventually. He knows where his bread is buttered. 100% right. However, the West still won't recognize Lukashenko's election win. Protests are still going on, both anti-government and pro-government. I got to say the anti-government's a little bit younger, obviously, whatnot. Almost kind of like the Hong Kong thing. But the West is still believed to be involved in fueling the NGOs in there through media, through the whole kind of George Soros kind of way, the NED, that kind of thing. We get money in there. Now, the question is, and we talked a little bit this earlier about recognizing the elections. That's how they always do it. They always try to delegitimize the elections. He's not the rightful owners. The ruler. He cheated his elections. His elections are no good. And, you know, they can say openly they can cheat ours and get away with it and stuff. But that's the way they always delegitimize. They say it's not legitimate results. So I pulled up this article from last week. I didn't get a chance to look at this here and stuff. It says declaring elections illegitimate by rejecting to send observers. So what the West did, fam, is they got ahead of this, okay? Instead of even sending in the observers, they refused to send them. They said that he was a little bit too late. In other words, and I'm going to just go down to that little comment over there. Belarus had, as usual, expected the OSCE, Office of Democratic Institutions for Human Rights, to send election observers for the August 9th election. But the OSCE preemptively announced that it would not do so because an invitation was allegedly too late. So what they're trying to say is that the fact is that they can't get there. It was too late. And, you know, he argued that it's like, no, they should have been ready to rock and roll. They've had observers in every single elections before. You know, Lukashenko has had them before, whatnot. So what they did is they tried to pull a tactic and said, oh, they couldn't go too late. And they still went and said, these elections are illegitimate. They're not legitimate. They're no good. You know, therefore, they can use that same type of narrative to put it out there. The West does not want Lukashenko to stay in power. I'm going to talk a little bit more about this, hopefully, with Mark Svoboda. We get him back on the show. But this is something to just take a look at. So, fam, once again, they used a different tactic this time. Instead of saying, because they know if they sent these observers, okay, that they would have to somehow cheat or get caught cheating, whatnot, to try to say that these elections weren't legitimate. Lukashenko and his regime are claiming that he won by 80%. There were no observers in there, so we don't know. But before in the past, Why did they use this tactic right now? I don't know. We saw this for months coming that they were planning a revolution in there, another color revolution. They still haven't quit. They still haven't stopped trying. There's still people in the streets.
We're the observers in the United States.
I know, right?
So that's why people are like, well, isn't this the same thing as a protest here? No, it's not, because nobody, like, the CIA isn't fomenting. They don't want these protests to happen. They're literally imprisoning people. This, like, when they put journalists and protesters in jail, when we have political prisoners, that's because it's real. When we go in other countries and we're funneling money and fomenting these types of color revolutions, that's when you know that, yes, while there are a lot of people that don't want that, the U.S. is helping meddle because we want, again, an allied type of government.
John Moore Jr. there. I'm a Democratic communist, and I'm still waiting on y'all. And I can explain that even. I get you, John. I promise you.
Can we get the fan? Yeah.
I promise you, John. We're going to get to you. There's a lot of stuff going on. So, anyways, yes. Also, China, right? China holds military exercises. This is the tensions in Taiwan, ladies and gentlemen. So we saw what happened with Hong Kong. Hong Kong was a little bit of a different situation. Hong Kong's government wasn't as stable as Taiwan's government. They had to actually have more of a functioning government, less poverty, less people in the streets, whatnot. There was a lot more actual suffering going on in Hong Kong that kind of led and was used to the NGO's advantage to kind of tweak it to be anti-Beijing, rather than look inward and say, hey, man, we have the biggest inequality, bigger than the United States, Hong Kong. We have people living in the streets. You're failing us. They were able to sway those tensions. Now, China is kind of pissed off. They've kind of mentioned and looked and they see what's going on. The U.S. is sticking its nose in. China has been holding military, drills all over the Taiwan Straits. They even fired a missile over Taiwan into the ocean. Johnny, if you can put up that next article, because it gets scary right here. The U.S. plans on one of the largest deals to Taiwan, drawing closer to Taipei amid tensions with China, where the Trump administration is poised to make a $7 billion arms deal to Taiwan. Now, this is the part right now here. Look, this is the part where you talk about the foreign policy of Donald Trump sucking. He's going to get away with the anti-China stuff because the anti-China stuff has been fomented. It's out there. Even in that video we watched, Joe Biden will never mention China.
Even though Joe Biden has sent he said he would send ships.
75% of the is to the South China Sea, he said. Yeah. The weaponry. Now, what the U.S. has always done, they've triculated weapon sales to Taiwan. A little bit here, a little bit over there. Nothing that Beijing would get pissed off, but now they're coming with $7 billion and going, here you go. So China is like, Beijing is like, the F you're going to do that. We're sticking our nose in. We're causing a problem. This is part of the separatist movement where they want to geopolitically go after China. This is what they're doing. They are playing with fire because that weaponry would include cruise missiles, mines, and other hardware, as well as a $400 million worth of MQ-9B Reaper drones.
Obama's favorite.
There we are. $7 billion deal would be toppling roughly $15 billion in arms sold to the country during the Trump administration. So it was $14 billion over the Obama's whole administration, but right now we're going to get to $15 billion in the first term. Obviously, that thought process of moving from being so anti-Russia, which once again, Fiorella just put it out. Trump is not nice to Russia. So look what's going on. Right? There's geopolitical ramifications. He's fucking with Russia, but he's also concentrated a lot on going against anti-China, anti-Beijing, and this is really fueling the problem over here. I'd like to get a hold of Danny Haifong to see what he has to say about this situation, give us a little bit more insight. I've been looking at Carl Zha, looking about the history of Taiwan. Ladies and gentlemen, this is something we have to look at right now because even though we're not paying attention to these particular foreign policy situations, Donald Trump is trying to amp these up in a nationalistic kind of way to show that he can help himself out for the elections as well.
Right.
I believe that's part of the whole plan as well. Not just the fact that the neocons want to take on China, and he wants to take on China.
They both want to take on China.
Yeah.
You know, it'd be a power move is if Taiwan actually teamed up with China after getting this arms sales.
Well, but there's too much business involved with there. You know what I'm saying? There's a lot of westernized business. I remember when I worked at Dave & Buster's, I almost went to Taipei, Taiwan with the group because they wanted me to go with them. You know what I'm saying? They were doing business, westernized business is involved in Taiwan. So I don't think their elites in their government would just simply, and they had been anti-Beijing for a long time. These are very serious situations. Remember when these deals were made in the 80s, China was poor, it was nothing. Now it's a big economic and military power.
We still think we have, we'll talk about that more. We still think we're still bullying people, but those days are coming to an end.